Programmed by enthusiasts, not accountants, this is Get Ready to Rock Radio.
And here at Get Ready to Rock, it's a great pleasure to introduce a guy who's been treading the boards and making albums for nearly 35 years now with Tygers of Tang. Hello to the founder member, Robb Weir. Hello, Robb.
Good morning, and how the devil are you, sir?
Very well, and nice to talk to you again, Robb. It's, great to catch up, really, with history, and also, of course, bringing the story right up to date with the brand new album, Ambush, which is coming out, and we'll talk about that. But did you think that nearly 35 years after the formation of Tygers that you'd be still treading the boards and releasing new albums?
Did I think I was still going to be doing this? In earnest, probably not. Because, that's the great mystery of life. You never quite know what's around the corner. I know what's around the corner of my kitchen is my African grey parrot called Percy, because he's whistling. I don't think you set out at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21 and think to myself, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So, I guess some people do. Some people, and I think the difference is you probably want to do it for the rest of your life, but whether it's actually achievable, hey, well, that's another whole game, I guess. So probably, I probably thought to myself, yes, I do want to do this for the rest of my life, because who wouldn't? What an absolutely fantastic life. Making albums, touring around the world, writing songs, your own songs, and people come to shows and appreciate them, and they're coming to see you ultimately, and the material which you've written, you've created in your head and with your fingers. But you just don't know what lies ahead, really, and that is the lovely mystery of life.
Yes. Now, the band's had a fairly sort of up-down existence, at least in the sort of the early days, especially in the 80s, really, when it reformed. But you weren't in the band. What would you say across that sort of 30-plus year history have been the high points for you and the low points? Starting perhaps with the low points.
Well, the low point, I guess, quite obvious and clearly for me would be the phone call that I got initially saying that Brian and I weren't required anymore in the middle of '83, which, considering I started it all, I couldn't quite get my head around. I'd just come back from holiday. In Spain. My first job was to go to one of these wonderful old red telephone boxes that we used to have, and you put your money in and you put your finger on the dial and you rang a number. And I remember ringing Rocky, the bass player, and saying, "Hi, how are you? I'm back. What's going on? What's happening?" And he said, "I've got some bad news for you." And there's a bit more to that tale, but which I won't go into. But suffice to say that my next 10 pence in the telephone was to Brian, and had a chat with him, and we decided to carry on in the music business, and put another band together in the same kind of vein.
So that was a low point. Now, what about high points over this 30-year plus period?
Well, what about outselling the Scorpions on the same night in the same town? We played Osaka. We were playing a 4,000 seater, which was sold out. They were playing in Osaka on the other side of town on the same night, which we didn't know. And the reason how it all came about was because when we went back to the hotel, the Scorpions were staying at the same hotel in Osaka, and we actually, we put our guitars and stuff in our hotel bedrooms. Went downstairs to the bar to meet, and as we did every night, to chew over the show and see what was good, what was bad, and one thing or other. And there, the first person I saw was Rudolf Schenker in his sort of fedora hat and his leather trousers and one thing or other. Now, 2 years before that, we'd actually opened up for the Scorps in the city halls in the UK on the Love Drive tour. So we'd had an association with them, and kind of knew them through that. So it was like and we were headlining, they were headlining. It was kind of a great big party, really. And I was at the bar, and our promoter came across to me, and he with a big smile on his face. And I said, "You've got a big smile on your face. What's going on?" And he said, I know whatever he was called, Yoshio or whatever. The promoter who's promoted the Scorpions. And he said, as promoters do, we compare notes, and we've outsold them by about 400 tickets. So I said, "Oh, fantastic! That's something that probably you couldn't." They'd sell us by 400,000 tickets now if we played anywhere. But there you go.
That's incredible. And what year would that have been, Rob? Then
that was 82 in Japan.
Get ready to rock radio. Music you want to hear.
We're talking to Robb Weir, the founder member and guitarist, songwriter with Tygers of Tang, who release their brand new album in September 2012, Ambush. And we're talking about Chris Tsangarides. How do you think you've benefited from working with him again? I mean, what does a top producer like Chris bring to the table?
Everything. Absolutely. He started off his career as an engineer, as you do. You in the old back in the old days, you were a T-boy and kicking about the studios, and then you got a chance to learn the engineering techniques and how to get different sounds out of different things, how to mic things up properly, what the right mics to use are, all sorts of stuff like that. And he had a great grounding. He was an engineer for Black Sabbath, for Judas Priest. All the biggies of the time. Went into production himself, but still did his own engineering, which is where we came in back in 1980 when we did Wildcat with him. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to. If you describe a sound, he can get it. And now when we recorded with him in January, he's got a Grammy now for Painkiller. The walls of his studio are just littered with, and I mean littered as in the nicest possible sense, with gold discs, platinum discs. All the people that he's produced got, for goodness sake, he's got a 500,000 copy gold disc for Samantha Fox. Not something that you'd expect to find on a rock producer's wall, but there you are. Just so many accolades that he's achieved. We were lucky enough now. Not only did he have the knowledge in 1980 fresh in his mind, but he's now got 30 years worth more knowledge of working with top artists in top studios all over the world. That he can bring to the table. How AC/DC got their snare drum sound on Back in Black. The tricks that were employed to do that and stuff like that. There's just, I wouldn't say there's nothing he doesn't know, but there's not a lot he doesn't know. And he has specially reserved for us, and of course it's not, but I'm going to say that because it was us. Chris Tsangarides, producer, Special Dust, which is in his left hand pocket. And he just kind of got a little sprinkling of that, and he just sprinkled it over the finished product, and it is what it is. It's it's absolutely fantastic. He's done us so proud, and indeed, we can't wait to do the next whenever and whatever it's going to be. The next set of recordings with him.
Oh, that's great. So what you're saying really, Rob, is that he obviously great experience, great attention to the actual sound, the sonic quality, but creatively, does he bring, you obviously came with the songs and the ideas, but would you say that it becomes more a partnership with somebody like him?
Very much so. If he thinks something's not right, or he says, he doesn't say, right, we'll do it like this. He'll say, we'll record the song, and he'll say, what do you think about putting two choruses there? Or what do you think about doing half that, and we'll do that, put that in he'll say it to Craig, because I don't understand. He'll say to Craig, what about doing that in 3/4 time? And I'm thinking to myself, oh God, what does that mean? Because obviously, Chris obviously understands all this weird and wonderful stuff, and so does Craig, because Craig teaches drums. If Animal Instinct lacked anything, it lacked Chris's touch, because we sort of did that ourselves, and it was mixed by Ben Matthews from Thunder. With all the experience which Chris has, he just has that something extra, and that's what's come out on Ambush.
This is radio for the internet age. Get ready to rock radio.
Now, Spellbound saw the arrival of John Sykes to the band, who later, of course, went on to play in Whitesnake in the late 80s. Now, how come he didn't stay, Rob, after the third album, Crazy Nights? He played on a couple of tracks on that album. Did he feel constrained? Because I understand he was perhaps the second guitarist then.
John, lovely, lovely fella, but I think John thought that when he joined the Tigers, he thought that was probably where he wanted to be. But as we were getting bigger and progressing on, I think he was looking at unbeknown to me, looking at even bigger things. And at 2:30 one morning, he left his flat that he shared with Jess Cox at the time, and oddly enough, John Deverill. Although Jess wasn't in the band and John Deverill was in the band as the singer, it was quite a bizarre arrangement, and went off to audition for Ozzy, which he didn't get, and I think Jakey Lee got that. Yeah, 81, I think. And he went off and did a solo single in a studio in Dublin, and next door, in the studio next door, was Thin Lizzy, and that's how that started.
I mean, it's intriguing, this, because back in the day, let's say, Rob, did you take on more of the lead guitar role?
When we chose as a four-piece, obviously, yes.
Yeah.
But when John came into the band, John was a fantastic guitar player, better guitar player than me, by far. And John, took on an awful lot of the lead stuff. I think we kind of shared it, but I think he wanted more and more
of the limelight, really.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're young and you're a bit headstrong and a bit egotistical and a bit daft, there was quite an ego struggle, within the band of. If there was a photographer appeared, there was a rush as to who could stand, in the middle, and get sent to pose. And likewise in the studio, there was I'll play this guitar solo. No, I'll play this guitar solo. And it was one of those sort of things. Whereas the lovely thing about playing now in the band now is you struggle to get anybody to do anything. Never mind run to be in the centre or play this or play that. It's just so there's no egos. There's just so laid back. I've been lucky enough to work with guitar players that are a lot better than I am. Dean's absolutely his ability is outstanding, and proves it every night that we play. Because he plays a different guitar solo every night, and some nights I think, oh yeah, that's pretty good, that's okay. And some nights I go, I'll say to him afterwards, you've got to remember that was fantastic. What did I do?
Going back again to the early 80s, because around about the time that you had John Sykes and then he left the band and all the rest of it, what we've been talking about really, you were also having problems with the label MCA, and that they apparently wanted you to record more of other people's songs. I think you've mentioned, yeah.
It was heading that way with The Cage. I think I only had one song on The Cage, which was actually that little musical interlude called The Cage. All our songs were kind of pushed out the way by other songwriters, and we actually demoed a fifth album, which was all our own compositions. Played it to the record company in their boardroom. And they said, "Oh yeah, this is it's very good, but we've got these songs that we'd like you to play," and they were just all by American songwriters and stuff like that. And we just said, "No, why should we play other people's songs when we can write songs just as good?" And they said, "Well, yeah, but that's your opinion." I said, "Well, hang on a second. We had a number 13 album with Wildcat, which I wrote. We had a number 18 album with Spellbound." Which I wrote half and John wrote half, and Rocky and Brian and John Deverill played their part in that. John Deverill writing the lyrics and the melodies, and everybody did their bit, as they do, because even if you don't if you don't actually present the guitar line, if you like, the opening gambit, the opening idea of the song, you're still, I'm not writing Rocky's bass part. So he writes that. So you're still you're still, an integral part of the unit, doing your own bit. So you're still, writing your own future, if you like, almost. Yes. So we said no. We're not prepared to play other people's songs. We've done the next album for you. Here you go. And it wasn't good enough in their mind. I don't mean our material wasn't good enough. They wanted us to play other people's songs, and that was that. And that was the deal. If you want to stay with us, and for us the association to carry on, then you do this. And we said no. And we actually, all five of us en masse, got up and walked out. And that was that. And whether it's foolhardy, whether it's very brave, I don't know. But that's exactly what happened. And we were without a record company. Probably the biggest record company in the world, MCA, if you think about it, because they're backed and funded by Universal, CIC Universal Studios.
Well, it was like a landmark, that, really, because from then the band seemed to dissolve, really, in the mid 80s.
Our management had, through again, other things that had happened, had not been with us for quite a few months. So we were without management. We were looking for management. The five of us, all kind of had opinions and ideas of how, the world should evolve within Tiger World, and that was a problem as well, because everybody had an opinion, rather than one person, i.e. management, having an opinion saying this is what we shall do. So we were leaderless, really, and I think if you don't have a leader in situations like that, dissension becomes a big part of things, and everything just falls to bits, and that's what happened.
And that takes us sort of a bit full circle from talking about the low points, really. But I think we should say before we leave that period, Rob, that for listeners who want to know a bit more about that 80s period, I mean, there were effectively two splinter Tiger groups in the 80s, and a couple of albums which appeared under the Tigers of Pantang name, which were The Wreck Age and Burning in the Shade. Now, I've just been listening to that because it's been reissued in the last couple of years, and it's nothing like the Tigers, is it? It's to be honest, it's dreadful sounding.
I'm glad you said that. Yes, it was. I don't really comment on it. It wasn't me. I don't know whether that's maybe a bit childish. I don't know. It was something which John and Brian did. I don't think the product that they produced was what I would have done, or where I thought the Tigers should be. But as a music journalist as you are, and you have that opinion, then I will certainly go with that.
I think what we should say is it's very 80s, very 80s sounding. It doesn't sound anything like really the classic Tigers sound. No. Now, the next landmark was really, I mean, we fast forward now to the end of the 1990s.
And I got a call from Jess Cox. He said, it's 20 years since the Tigers, went out on the road. There's a big festival in Germany called Wacken. I know that the guy who does it, he's been in contact with me and asked whether the Tigers would play. Are you interested? So I hadn't played. I kind of left the music business in earnest, I suppose, in about 87, which is the last thing which I did with Jess, this project called Tiger, which we recorded an album but never actually came to fruition. Although one of the tracks from the album, Small Town Flirt, made it onto a neat early Tigers recordings. I think it was called First Kill. I'm just going to go to my little CD library and see whether I can see it. First Kill. Where would that be? There we are, First Kill. that came out initially on Castle Communication Records, I think. I think it did. Yes, Castle Classics. It came out on Small Town Flirt track 10. And there was some great stuff on that album, but it never happened. So that was that. And we just contacted everybody in the band, Rocky and Brian and John Deverill, and unfortunately they were all tied up doing other things. So Jess said, well, listen, we can still do it, you and me, and we're 50% of the original band, and we hired 3 guys from a local band up in the northeast called Blitzkrieg, and we had 4 rehearsals, got on the plane and flew out to Germany. And as we were on our British Airways flight from Heathrow to Hamburg, I was sat next to Jess, and Jess said, "Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you, we're actually headlining tomorrow night," which was a bit of a shock. Because I didn't think we were, we were certainly ready to headline. I thought we would be on sort of, at breakfast time, just to break everything back in. But there was, small bands like Dokken and Saxon and all sorts on before us, and I thought, oh dear me, I had my bicycle clips ready at the time.
A baptism of fire. Well, how quickly did you get personally back up to speed, Rob? Then for that,
I'd kind of about sort of 3 or 4 years before that. I'd somebody in the family had an old Strat, and they were selling it or something like that. And I said, "Oh, I'll give you some money for that," and I bought it. So I'd sort of, secretly had a played just not for anything. I had no reason to play. I had no reason to write any songs or anything like that. But ideas just, and of course I had no medium to put them on because I didn't have a studio or anything like that. So I just sort of, bashed away, as you say, with this guitar for a couple of years, and then, when I got this phone call, to much dismay to my beloved wife, I said, I'm going to have to go and buy a couple of guitars, and I need an amp, and and she just kind of, looked at the ceiling and thought, I don't know what she thought. And so that's exactly what happened. I went out and re-instrumented myself, and it's been going on ever since.
Yeah. So did that reformation then persuade you that there was still a demand, obviously, because you must have had a great reaction?
You got 22,000 people persuaded me that there must be something still in Tygers music, because that's what there was watching us. Hence the bike clips. Bloody hell! I have a saying. I have a belief that rock and roll is the nicest and the most dreadful disease that you can catch. It's the nicest disease because it makes you happy. It puts a silly, boyish or girlish grin on your face. You stand in front of the mirror with a hairbrush and sing the lines of daft songs that you have, playing away. You pick a tennis racket up and pretend that you're, whoever you want to be, guitar player-wise. And it's the most dreadful disease to catch because you can never get rid of it. It's always there. It's always in your blood. It's always present. And it can get into so much trouble.
And you reformed with pretty much the present-day lineup in 2001, and fast-forwarding right up to date now. We're going to round things off with another track from the new album, Ambush, and we've picked out this one. I do like this, Rob. It's Burning Desire. And I think what we can say to listeners is this is a great step forward, a natural step forward from the previous album, which was great as well, Animal Instinct. And once again, the album's called Ambush. So we say to you, Rob, thank you very much indeed for talking to Get Ready to Rock. It's been a real pleasure. And all the very best with this album and your future tour dates.
Thank you very much indeed.